government says it has sent a team of investigators to look into allegations that people that have been killed during the protests in the country. Acting Prime Minister Themba Masuku says that no deaths have been confirmed as yet and accused foreign elements of interfering in the country's governance. For more reaction on this, I'm joined by Pudemo Secretary General Wandile Dludlu and our reporter Mweli Masilela. Good evening to you both, and thank you so much for your time, Mr. Dludlu. I'm going to begin with you. The government says there are no deaths that have been confirmed, but your organization is adamant that there are, in fact, some of those who have been killed. Can you confirm some of those that have been killed? We have been seeing videos on social media that have not yet been verified. So what do you say then to what the government has to say?
Thank you very much, my sister, and greetings to viewers out there. We can confirm certainly that in the last 5 days, with the advent of the war that His Majesty has declared on citizens, unarmed, innocent civilians, has led to, on average per day, of plus minus 10, between 10 and 15 reported deaths. This excludes deaths that occurred around Matsapa, where a joint operation of police and soldiers shot people and threw them into the burning fire at the Swaziland breweries, as well as other deaths where it killed people and picked them and put them at the back of vans, as well as boats. So we can safely say now we are plus minus 40 people who have in our records. And that is not yet conclusive, my sister. We are still battling because this has been very unprecedented.
And Mweli, the situation on the ground is really one that is concerning. You were there and unfortunately then had to leave because you were also not safe with Senzo there. Certainly the situation remains volatile. What are you hearing from some of those who are inside?
Indeed, Bongi, the biggest challenge here is that even ourselves as a media crew, it has been very difficult for us to tell a true reflection of what is happening on the ground, mainly because even when we came through here, it was a struggle to get even into the major city or the capital city of the Kingdom of Eswatini, which is Mbabane. The thing is that movement, number one, is very limited in Esfam as this country, Eswatini, is concerned. There's a huge restriction in terms of movement. And the biggest challenge also is that of the issue of the internet, the fact that the internet has been cut off. That's one issue that makes it difficult even to try and get in terms of the number of deaths that Wandile is talking about. Well, government is maintaining their story to say that so far they can't confirm any death. In fact, I just spoke to the spokesperson of the government, Sabelo Dlamini, a few moments ago, saying that they are still going to try and confirm if indeed there are those deaths, because they've sent out teams to try and look into that. And he's saying that even if there are deaths, they can't say that the army or the police are responsible for that. So that's the kind of difficult situation, Bongi, whereby even the government is not coming clean in terms of what is happening on the ground. That is why today pro-democracy groups decided to have a meeting to try and map a way forward in terms of what exactly should happen now. Well, in terms of what the president of Pudemo, Mlungisi Makhanya, told me, because he was part of that meeting, he said that they have decided on a must stay away, which means that from tomorrow or with immediate effect, people shouldn't go to work tomorrow. They must stay at home. So in that way, they are trying to put pressure on the government of Eswatini to try and make sure that they stop maybe the issues of human rights violations, because according to the pro-democracy groups, they believe that there is a lot of violations, Bongi, happening on the ground.
Mr. Dludlu, this stay away, this must stay away that Mweli is talking about, how long is it likely to continue for? And can some of those who are staying away from work really afford to at this time when looking at what is happening with the economy?
it is going to be determined, my sister, by the attitude of His Majesty as the head of this whole mess that he has plunged our country into. But this is what the best Swazis can do, is to stay away. It is some level of power through which we can show our disapproval of not only how this system has run this country for the last for the last 53 years, but also what has happened in the last 3 weeks, or I would say 4 weeks, where Mswati unleashed violence on unarmed innocent civilians. So in our view, Swazis have already been in a very dire situation even before this. With the advent of Corona, beginning of last year, we saw governments all over the world trying their best to provide some form of cushion in terms of food and social and some amenities. But we saw government of Swaziland doing literally nothing. All that we have seen has been donations in terms of donations from AU, donations from Taiwan, and donations from other countries. That's the only thing government has been, even in terms of vaccinations. The only vaccinations Swaziland has received has been because of those that have been donated. So this has culminated to a situation where Swazis have really been used to living on the ICU, if we were to call it that. And to some degree, actually, my sister, that to a great extent could have been one of the biggest variable or contributing factors to this spark or the struggle of the people reaching a boiling point. So it is honestly the best thing Swazis can do, because you can't force us to go to work, and you can't force us on your leadership. His Majesty must know that from now on, he has made history, and it's history that has permanently changed the course of our politics, where he has spilled the blood of innocent Swazis and children, and children, he has killed children who were unarmed, even with a single pistol, to say they were fighting. These are people who are burning tires and ordinary protest. And then he unleashes the fire, military fire for that matter, that he has unleashed. Was still working on seeing on the prospects, because in Swaziland, you can't take him to court. It's written in his love letter called the Constitution of Swaziland 2005 Act, which is nothing but the royal love letter that you can't take him to court. Him and his mother and his children and friends and cabal, you can't take to court. So Swazis have really to find a way to move around and see how we personally hold him and his mother and the commanders of the army, the police, and the useless government of Swaziland led by that pensioner, Masu. We must hold them particularly, personally responsible. And if the international community doesn't help us, if SADC doesn't help us, we will, as Swazis, find a necessary justice in him.
Are you able to share with us what necessary justice would look like?
We will be meeting. We are working on it. We are working tirelessly with our local and international allies. We are also inviting governments. We are engaging governments and multilateral institutions in the region and beyond to assist us. Set a new record. We can't allow a leader who has been helping himself on our resources, living lavishly when our nation has 47% youth unemployment. According to the statistics of ILO, we have 27% HIV prevalence. We have 63 Swazis living on less than $1 per day. And out of that, you have a king who lives and is the third richest king in the world. And this is what we have been calling for as Pudemo for years, that the world must assist us.
And
we will make sure.
In 10 seconds, Mr. Dludlu, in 10 seconds, we're out of time. What do you say about the looting that has been happening?
Oh, my sister, I've already indicated. What happened is a spark of a number of factors, among which is poverty and hunger. I was in many of these marches. I saw children getting in a shop, not going for sweets and biscuits. Children as young as 5, 6, helping each other to carry a bag of milli and a bread. What must that interpret? Is that Swazis are hungry. They are sitting behind doors without food, with no help, unemployed, poverty and neglected. They can only be spectators when the king buys nice Rolls Royce and 17 million worth of watches and for his kids and children. It can't be.
And Mweli, in 10 seconds, what's next for Eswatini?
Bongi, the issue that is being highlighted by Wandile, most of the young people I spoke to here while on the ground, they are complaining about the issue of poverty. They are saying that the issue of unemployment as well is a big problem. That is why they are now calling for the voice of the king, because they are not happy with the fact that the king hasn't said anything in this difficult time. So they were hoping that at least he will come out and maybe try and meet the nation halfway in terms of whether there will be a dialogue. Well, the pro-democratic groups, Bongi, are saying that they are prepared to have a dialogue, but they are not convinced that even that dialogue will come out with positive results, considering the history. You know that political parties here were banned in 1973, and they've been calling for the unbanning of those political parties, but seemingly it looks like the authorities in the Kingdom of Eswatini are not willing to meet them halfway. So I think that's the biggest issue. We'll continue monitoring the situation, Bong, in as far as the protests are concerned, because, as I said, indeed, they did confirm that they are planning on a mass stay away, and also they are saying that that will not be the last protest action. It's something that they are going to continue doing until the government, perhaps there is pressure to try and meet those concerned parties in as far as this issue is concerned.
All right. Thank you so much to you both for your time. Certainly, one can hope that the king will say something in the coming days, or this particular dialogue then will then take place. That was Pudemo Secretary General Wandile Dludlu and our reporter Mweli Masilela.